This is the voice of the Report of the Week, signing on. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone listening. This is VORW Radio International, the voice of the Report of the Week. It is Thursday, the 30th of November 2017, though you also might be tuned in on Sunday, the 3rd of December 2017. VORW Radio International is a light entertainment program which features a mixture of my talking commentary as well as listener-requested music. VORW Radio International can be heard every week online via TuneIn Radio, SoundCloud, and on your phone via the TuneIn app. VORW Radio International also may be heard on the international shortwave frequencies of 11,580 kHz, 9955, 9455, 9400, 9395, 7730, and 7490 kHz. No matter how you're listening, when you're listening, or where you're listening from, I wish you good reception conditions, and I hope you enjoy this broadcast. Well, here we are, the last day of the second to last month of the year, November 30th, 2017. Well, I hope this last week has been fine for you. I hope Thanksgiving wasn't a disaster. At least I hope it wasn't too much of a disaster. I hope the month of November was a fine one. For me, the month of November was non-existent. It came and it went, and it still feels like October. That's where that stands for me. But the last week was okay. Nothing significantly bad or good happened, which is better than a bad week. Because some people they take an uneventful week automatically as a bad week. But sometimes nothing is better than having an awful week, so maybe it wasn't a good week, but it wasn't a bad one either, just a standard uneventful week. And not too much to report that way. I don't have tons of exciting adventures to share this time around that I usually do, and just a quiet week. The only highlight was I went out. I went over to a mall twice. Went over there, filmed a couple videos for the YouTube channel, some food reviews. You know, they always have a plethora of different eateries there that I can do, and that worked out. That worked out fine. Wasn't too too bad of an experience. But that's about it. Here we are, a week later. I know a lot of people weren't able to listen to the broadcast last Thursday due to it being Thanksgiving in the United States. But if you are tuned in right now, thank you for spending your Thursday here at VORW Radio International. Well, I just have two things to bring up. One is a reiteration of a point that I'll mention every so often, and then the other is just radio related. First and foremost, something that I talked about, and I don't think I've ever brought up this point in recent weeks. Now, I don't keep track of all the broadcasts to a T, and unfortunately I just don't have the records or the memory to say, well, I know I talked about this on October whatever. I would presume, however, that it has been a matter of months, but I don't know. I'm just taking guesses here. Well, I would say that it's a topic that is so overlooked because it's something that's just overall difficult to process. But it was just it was just an interesting little kind of thought experiment I found myself in, where I always say we can't take everything for granted. And by that especially, I mean simple day-to-day life. I mean, let's face it, can you guarantee 100% that you're going to be around tomorrow? Not 100%, maybe 95, 98%. You can't guarantee it, though. Something could always happen. And we just have to ignore that, otherwise it'd eat us up, it'd eat us alive. We just have to assume the fact that we're going to make it on to the next day, and everything will be fine in that regard. And it was just interesting to think. I was, the other day, I was out and about. I was at that mall, as I said, and I needed to cross a busy road. And I was at an intersection. It was a 4-lane highway, which, you know, it was one of those areas, though, that if the light was green, the traffic on this highway could go quite fast. It could go 60 and 70 miles per hour, but, you know, just slow down for the light. Well, anyway, I'm waiting. It's late morning, so traffic isn't too bad, but there's still a number of cars going to and fro on this highway. So the light turns red for the opposing traffic, and I'm safe to cross. Now, part of me had put faith in this traffic light. Well, the cars have a red light now. I'm faithful that they're going to stay stopped at this red light. No one's going to run it. It's late morning. There aren't a lot of cars. I can just go make up some time and get across this intersection. And I was about to do that. I automatically went kind of on autopilot since the light was red for any traffic that could potentially hit me, and everything else looked clear enough ahead and behind me. So I started walking, and I was about to set foot into the closest lane on this highway. And all of a sudden I make the conscious decision, well, should I... And it wasn't an automatic decision, mind you, but it was rather a conscious decision, one which I actually gave a quick yes-no answer to in my head. And I thought to myself, well, maybe I should just look to my left one last time just to make sure. Just as I'm about to set foot in the highway, I do, and sure enough, what do I see? A car speeding towards me at very high speed. I would imagine a distracted driver, probably on their phone or just very careless, that is going at way too high of a speed to be stopping at this red light that they have. They are obviously going to run the light. So I immediately, very forcefully, retract myself and step back onto the shoulder, and the car zooms past, obviously running the red light. I just, I didn't think anything of it. I just thought to myself, wow, what an idiot. Could have gotten a bad accident doing that. But it wasn't until hours later, when I was kind of writing down a few thoughts, where I realized, I could have died today, and that would have been it. Had I not have made that conscious decision to look to my left at that moment, I would have just automatically stepped forward as I had begun, and that car, considering that it ran a red light, likely wasn't paying attention, could have hit me just like that, and at that speed. I would have been toast, I'll tell you that. Interesting food for thought. Otherwise, it was a standard day. I stepped back, car ran the light, probably got to its destination, I got to my destination, and here I am 12 hours later at, 1, 2 a.m., just sitting here recording this broadcast for you, just another day. But had things have been different in just that one split second, crazy to think. We can't take every day for granted, ladies and gentlemen. Always try to make the most of what you can. Sometimes things like that happen, and unfortunately we're not always so lucky, but I always try to make the most of things. That's my general attitude towards it all. I try to make the most of things. I try not to let that ideology consume me and say, all right, I'm just going to live on the edge and spend everything every single day because maybe I'll die tomorrow, I just try to make the most of things in small ways, to get someone else's company or the weather or some good food or some good music or anything in between. It's an attitude that I try my best to live by, and I am by no means perfect at that whatsoever, but it's just something that I try to do. Now, all that philosophical stuff aside, one final note on a more technical aspect. I am still very curious if you are tuned into this broadcast on shortwave. Now, if you're tuned in online on your phone, I still highly, I ask for correspondence. I'll be doing that later in the broadcast as well. But if you are listening on your shortwave radio, if you are tuned in right now, your reception reports are appreciated. I'm interested in seeing where this signal is hitting